Welcome to episode 9 of High Street Histories, our guided tour of Lowestoft's historic High Street. I'm Dean Parkin.
And I'm Ivan Bunn.
And we're at the very south end of the street with a very special image, aren't we, Ivan?
I got to think this could be one of my favourite pictures. This is Mr. Tailor, the tailor, at Outfitter Shop, 116 High Street, and he's uncertain who these people are at the front. I think these are probably the employees of this business. This was, as you know, built as a temperance pub.
Cocoa Tree Tavern.
The Cocoa Tree Tavern.
Yeah, temperance bar was somewhere where you go and have a drink, but they didn't serve alcohol.
Yeah, and judging by some of the plans that still exist, downstairs was a coffee shop and comfortable places to sit. But on the first floor, there was, in actual fact, a large kind of conference room, a reading room, and above that was the accommodation for the manager and his family. So it's almost likely that a lot of these people would be working behind the scenes, possibly upstairs, because as a tailor, Mr. Tailor, you could go there and have your clothes made to measure, or you'd just go there to be outfitted off the peg.
So the women might have been seamstresses.
Yes.
You'd come in there, order your suit, and they'd make the suit. And the men, some of the men would have worked in the shop.
Yeah. The tailor took over the Cocoa Tree just after the end, probably, of the First World War.
Yes.
So this picture probably dates from the 1920s, and the men are definitely wearing some of the most fashionable suits of the day.
Yes.
And obviously these are the important staff. I wouldn't be at all surprised if this man standing here isn't actually Mr. Tailor.
He does look like he stood apart.
He stood slightly apart from them.
Yeah. We were trying to work out, weren't we, what celebration this could be, because shops tended to deck the fronts of their shops in flags and things. If there was a royal celebration, but there doesn't seem to be a Union Jack flag particularly, does there?
No.
It just looks like there's some event happening in the town, a bit like a carnival or something, where all the shops have covered themselves in bunting.
And of course, by the 1920s, the August Bank Holiday Carnival was one of the highlights of the town, so this might well be just up for the carnival. One other interesting thing as well, there's this wonderful, wonderful arched doorway here, which is part of the building, which presumably takes you through to the back, or through and up some stairs to the next floor. I don't know. The reason I'm pointing that out to you is because when we come to the next photo, this is the same building. Tailor had moved out, and Chilvers, the furniture store owner, had moved in. Here's that wonderful arched doorway. And you can see this is all boarded up and the place is shut. It's because there was a very, very near miss, really, from a German bomb that I think I'm right in saying landed in the garden at the back and did substantial damage. And this is is opposite number 100 with the modern frontage. So I'm wondering if a lot of the debris that flew off this didn't damage number 100. But you can see this is blocked up and standing completely empty. This must be late 1940s, I should think. Presumably because it was so badly damaged, it was unsafe and had to be demolished, and the building was rebuilt, but obviously to save money, this is the end product today. It's a single story thing. And the interesting thing is about it as well, it's not even on the same footprint as the original building, because it's set back from the road slightly, whereas Mr. Tailor's shop came out as far as this. Yeah,
it's funny that, I mean, if you look at that row, it does stick out. This one-story building, and there's a story behind the single story, which is that the old shop was taken down brick by brick
because it was so badly damaged.
Replaced.
This concreted area here is probably marks the height and the extent of the original one, and the brickwork has all been badly damaged.
Yeah.
So we move on. We've just gone up one step to number 117, which is Bonus the Chemist.
Yes.
And this is a fascinating photograph because It's got a central display window that you could walk round before you got to the front door, and that's Mr. Bowness standing in front of it. Dean, for personal reasons, I think you know a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I do actually, because what came after the Chemist was a bookshop. Panda Books, where I worked for many years.
Yeah.
And it was one of those buildings that had been a chemist shop for like generations, and it remained in that use for about 50 years. So Panda Books moved there in 1977 from number 88 High Street, where David and Christine Johnson had opened the shop in 1973.
Yeah.
And I started there in 88 and worked there for over 15 years. The frontage of the shop had been changed by Eddington's, the chemist, in the mid-1970s, because it created a much bigger shop. So that lovely central column where you can see Mr. Bowness standing to the left had gone before Panda Books had arrived.
Yeah.
Which is a real shame, because it would have been ideal to display books.
Yeah.
So by 1977, the shop had changed to the frontage that it's had for many years now.
Yeah.
And Panda Books were there from 1977 to 2017.
The other interesting thing is as I've commented on a couple of these before, the shop front itself with the side columns here and here. This is a totally different and earlier shop front to what's there today. But these with the, I'm not quite certain what this work would be described as, this sort of scroll work on each of the pilasters here and there, still remains. And this is the property today.
Yeah.
And you can see quite clearly that despite this being totally different, that presumably is now the door to the flat above.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
And so that's been added, and the chemist shop with this display cabinet window in the middle, blocking the way to the front door, is gone, and but you can still see here the original shop front hasn't been touched.
And there is the modern day shopkeeper, Mr. Darren Breeze, a professional wood turner.
Yeah.
Who's busy working and selling from his premises at number 117.